What's up, guys? Welcome to Broke and Stressed, a PT student podcast where we talk about our lives as broke and stressed physical therapy students. Throughout grad school, you'll come to find that the struggles that you're having happen all the time to thousands of students across the country. You are not alone. In this podcast, we'll share our personal stories and walk you through how we overcame some of our own struggles. I'm your host, Ruben. Let's have some fun, have some good conversation, and let's get into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Kevin Hamidi on, who's going to be talking about how to be a successful fitness and business coach while he's in PT school. Kevin's been very successful in all his business endeavors thus far. And we're going to pick his brain today and just learn how he got here. So Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Kevin, or as most people call me, Coach Kev. I am a second-year PT student at Western Michigan University right now. And as Ruben alluded to, I run two online businesses, one focusing on fitness coaching. So I help other busy men and women obtain the body of their dreams through performance-based fitness coaching. And then on the flip side of it, I also do business coaching for other personal trainers that are looking to grow and scale into the online space and get more clientele online. So those are the two businesses that I run online while I'm going through PT school right now. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Nice. What year are you in PT school?
Second year right now.
Perfect. And you just wrapped up your clinicals, right?
Yep, just wrapped up my first 10-week clinical at an outpatient neuro site, which is really great.
Nice. And then, so speaking of PT school, Kevin, why don't you tell us about an embarrassing moment that you had in PT school thus far?
Ooh, all right. Let's see. Embarrassing moment in PT school. I'd say the first one that really comes to mind is specifically in one of my courses where the professor is like pretty outgoing and pretty funny in terms of like the way he does the class. So he'll frequently like pick on all of us a lot of the time. And this actually kind of ties into what we'll be talking about later in the podcast with like my businesses and everything. But like I didn't realize this, but we were like finishing up lecture. We were talking about like water intake and different things like that with like heat and exercise. And he decides to pull up like one of my like Instagram posts just randomly.
No way. That's awesome.
Put it on the screen and then started joking about it and being like, oh man, like he put out like one of my client transformations was like, is this dude like dipping into the cookie jar and getting some roids going? And like it like for me at the moment when like I was like, oh my God, like please don't like keep poking fun at me with this. Just because like I just wasn't used to it at that point. And I wasn't really so open in terms of just like expressing my business endeavors to everyone in PT school.
Yeah.
So it kind of just went all out there, like just randomly like that with him poking fun at like my like fitness content and everything in a good way. But
yeah,
like, I was like, oh my God, like please don't like keep doing this anymore. But yeah, that's like the first thing I can think of really.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like you try to keep your business stuff separate from your PT school
I
stuff.
try to. It's kind of merged now at this point because every single professor kind of knows that I like run a business now. And
man,
at this point, I think most of them do at least. Some of them follow me on social media, so like they see all my stuff.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, some of them see all my stuff.
How do you feel about that? I feel like I'd be kind of weird about that if someone like a teacher were to follow me.
At first, I felt kind of weird about it, but then like I kind of embraced it at that point because it was all like super supportive and like I remember one day walking out of one of my courses and then one of my professors who followed me and I didn't realize like they even like saw my stuff I didn't realize they followed me. They were like, Kev, I really love like all your Instagram content, man. Like it's so good. Like you post such good info. I'm like, oh God, okay. I mean, I feel good about it now. I kind of embraced it. Like it's kind of my thing and it's like what I'm known for now. So
yeah, of course. You just got to own it.
I just own it.
Yeah, for sure. With like my fitness Instagram, I kept that kind of private. And then some of my classmates found it. And I'm like, gosh, shit, well, I guess I can't hide it now. They have it already.
Yeah, I remember when I first started my fitness coaching and I was like making my new account and everything. And this was like back before PT school. Like I remember like at first like keeping it private because I was like, I don't want anyone else to like see this stuff. I don't want my classmates to find out. But they found it. So it doesn't matter at this point anymore.
Yeah. So let's dive into that actually. Let's dive into how you first got into fitness and coaching and all that.
Sure. So origin story, really, I'll go back to undergrad, really, when I first started, because that was where I first fell in love with fitness through, being an athlete my whole life, really. I've been doing martial arts since the age of 4. Athletics has always been something that's been big in my life. And when I started university and I was going into freshman year, I wanted to find a way now, because I had access to a weight room, to then improve my athletic performance and also look better, because like most guys, I also had some deep-rooted insecurities that I wanted to resolve. So I started training in the weight room, really loved it, really enjoyed it. And then from there, it kind of progressed into, oh, like I really want to like do something with this. Like I really enjoy this a lot. So sophomore year, got my CPT, and from there started coaching in person. And I was like bouncing around like different like big box gyms. I coached at our like rec center for a little bit, for a decent amount of time actually. And I quickly realized I didn't really enjoy it all that much, not because I like the personal training aspect, but I just hated the whole, at that time, the selling aspect of like personal training, with like, oh man, like I gotta sell and get clients and I don't know how to do this and I feel so like icky with it, and like I just hated it. And I just hated the whole grind of like working for like a big box gym during school. So fast forward to then junior year / senior year, I decided to end the big box training grind and then start doing some stuff online, which that came about because I made like a separate Instagram page, like I was talking about earlier. And I was just posting fitness content like organically on there, like my physique progress, like what I was doing, my macros, like the training I was doing. And then I had some people, like friends, like hit me up being like, hey, like you've built this really great physique. Like, can you like help me do that? You know? And I was like, yeah, I guess I can. So I started like writing some programs for free for people, like, or like really low cost, started doing some one-on-one for like really low cost. And then eventually that kind of snowballed into the end of senior year, going into my first year of PT school, where I decided to really take this up a next notch, because I was like, I know that I can make something out of this, but I just don't know how exactly. And I'm tired of like, as much as I enjoyed it, I'm tired of like trading my time for money and like just training all these people for like very little cost. So I hired a mentor, my very first business mentor, who was in the fitness space as well, to like help me really launch my coaching business. And I did this literally, like I started the mentorship the first day of PT school. So that's how that went. And you know, fast forward, I will spare you all the details, but fast forward from that point on, I've been able to then slowly get more high ticket clients in, build my like resume and build my expertise as an online fitness coach, invested in several other business mentorships as time went on through PT school. And that led me to the point of where I'm at now, having, you know, being decently successful with online fitness coaching and having the, I guess, accolades that I do have at this point in time.
And then when did you you started doing business coaching? So you coached people and then you also coached coaches. So talk to
Yes.
me about how you decided to start doing that.
Yeah. So if you would have asked me, like, I wouldn't have ever, like, I never set into this to be a business coach or to do business coaching. Like that was never a thing that crossed my mind, but it was something that came on organically because I quickly realized I had this expertise in business from what I've been able to create and do from everything I've learned. And the offer kind of just came about organically because I was on another podcast. Some people listening to this probably listen to that podcast as well, Gratitude. And I was on there and, you know, they were just asking me about my PT school journey, talking a lot about the business stuff. And from there, I had a lot of people reaching out to me asking for help on that because they wanted to do the same thing. And I quickly realized there's actually a demand here, there's actually a need here, and I actually have a service that I can provide in this different way. And I wanted to just continue my mission and spreading back because I realized that for me and my like company's mission in terms of like what I want to do and create in this world, I can't do it alone. And the way that I can continue the impact I want on, you know, helping transform all these hundreds of thousands of lives and making people healthier and pain-free is not just through myself and what I can do, but by helping other coaches in this space really like monetize their expertise and get more clients, so then I can have a ripple effect through the industry in that way as well. So that's kind of how that came about. And that started a couple months ago and it's been growing ever since. And that's how that side of the business kind of grew.
Man, that's awesome. So you started the fitness coaching, the business mentorship, first day of PT school, essentially. Were you ever worried about like the workload? Were you ever worried that you were going to be overwhelmed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I never really talked about this publicly, but like it seems all peaches and rainbows from the outside. Like, oh man, like look at this kid. He grew like this, like, 5-figure, 6-figure like business, like through PT school, made all this money, coached all these clients. He just finished his like last clinical, like he's killing it, or like his first clinical, he's killing it. But it's like, in all reality, like you mentioned, like I had those thoughts where it was like, oh man, like this is a lot. And like, I don't know. And summer semester for me was a heavy semester, like with gross anatomy and some other courses I was taking at PT school. It was a very hands-on semester. This business mentorship was a lot. And I mean, I struggled a ton, like really like the first whole year, because I just had my time commitment split between like so many different avenues and places, and running a business while you're in PT school is not the it's not the most, how can I say this? It's definitely not for the faint of heart, because I struggled a lot and I had to sacrifice a lot of things. And I mean, I I went on academic probation. Like I did not have the most stellar grades through like the first portion of PT school in the first year. And I really had to figure out a way to turn that around and like actually like spread my time wisely so I could get all these things done that I need to get done. And I eventually did figure that out, hence why I'm here right now. But it definitely was not peaches and rainbows, and it definitely was a big struggle like for the first few months of PT school.
Of course, man. I feel like, yeah, everything that people publicize and show on Instagram is like all the, all the good things. They never really show the grind of it. And of course, man, running two successful businesses during PT school, which is not an easy feat. I'm sure that, yeah, it's gonna be hard for sure. And you went through it, man. That's awesome. So if you were to go back in time, knowing what you know now, and do it all over again, what would you do differently, or would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I would have gotten help so much sooner. It's like a super cliche thing, but I harp on this all the time. And it's like, like if you really want to do this thing, you're like, yo, like I really know some stuff. I really want to monetize my expertise. I know a thing or two about personal training. Like I want to start coaching clients online, or maybe you coach in person. You want to just transition online because of this whole ass pandemic going on right now. Like get help sooner. And I mean like actual help, like books and podcasts and websites and blogs. They're great and all, but I mean, take it from the guy who consumed that stuff for like years and never really went anywhere with it until I actually like got someone to physically help me and like get on a call with me every single week and like hold my hand essentially through this whole process in the beginning, because that is ultimately what made the difference. Like I can say with 100% certainty, my decision to hire my first mentor, Brian DaCosta, I would not be where I am right now if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for the second business mentor I hired, if it wasn't for the third and other business mentors that I've hired over the past year or so. Like if it wasn't for any one of them, like I would not be where I'm at right now. And each investment in myself just leveled me up to the next level. But in terms of like also just like strategy wise, like things I wish I would have known and like did differently, a few things would be like, if for anyone that's listening to this and like you're in PT school, you're about to be in PT school, you're, into fitness, you are a personal trainer maybe, and you want to do something like what Ruben or myself are doing and like actually coach some clients online. I think the biggest thing is like really, get clear and like narrow down on like who it is that you are trying to serve. Like you can't, like the biggest thing I tell up and aspiring coaches is that you can't be everything to everyone, because if you try to attract everyone, you end up attracting no one. And I think the biggest mistake I made in the very beginning was trying to appeal to everyone and trying to be the generic fat loss coach or generic muscle building coach and fitness coach, because at that point you're just a commodity and people aren't going to be willing to pay for your services or want to pay for your services. And the way you're able to charge what you're worth in a top dollar amount, and the way you're able to attract clients who want to work with you, is by specializing yourself in some area. And that could be a lot of different things. And it seems scary at first to like be like, oh my God, like I gotta just specialize in the area and like do nothing else. But it's like, no, like you need to be known for one thing and be known as a specialist, not a generalist. And I think that's honestly like one of the biggest things I would have done differently when I first started. And that was one of the first things I did when I started working with Brian and all my other mentorships. That really just changed the game for me, both as a fitness coach and as a business coach, because same principles applied for me in like every business endeavor that I'm doing.
It's crazy how much you've grown. How do you think that being a fitness coach and a business coach, how do you think that learning all this stuff has impacted how you view being a clinician now and being a PT student and being a future PT?
Yeah, I think especially it's impacted me quite a bit on both sides, I'd say, actually. Like on the fitness side, obviously, you know, as a future clinician, as a current PT student, we are movement professionals. And, you know, being able to, one, apply a lot of the knowledge I'm learning from PT school into what I'm doing with my clients online has been like great from like also just a learning perspective and being able to really apply a lot of that information. And then at the same time, taking a lot of the practical experience I've had coaching clients and like reviewing form and like doing these check-ins and like really handling these clients. And I'm doing the same thing when I'm in the clinic or when I'm in the classroom, and I'm doing the same thing with like coaching someone's form and looking at someone's movement and knowing how to create programs for people and actually like design an intelligent periodized system. Like knowing all those things, like they kind of just go hand in hand, and it's honestly like a perfect combination for me. And then more unorthodox, but it still also benefits me, is with the business side of it. Like all the business education I've had up until now, and then everything I'm doing with teaching other coaches and trainers, like it also transfers over to being a future clinician. Because like the thing I wish more clinicians realize is that like you can have all the clinical skills in the world, you could have all the clinical know-how, but you can't help someone if you don't know how to bring them in the first place. And you can have all these skills, but if you don't have the business savvy knowledge, you're not going to be able to use those skills with as many people as you'd want to use them for. Like you got to have the business know-how to know how to attract and market towards clients. And principles in business are principles in business, just as principles in fitness are principles in fitness. And a squat is a squat is a squat. Knowing how to coach form is knowing how to coach form. Same thing applies in business. All these principles on creating your offer, positioning yourself online, having a niche, knowing how to launch, knowing how to market appropriately, knowing how to attract inbound and outbound leads, all that stuff, like that all applies no matter what business you're in, whether you are a fitness coach, a clinician, like it doesn't matter. They all apply. And for me, it's impacted me a ton in knowing like, okay, I have the confidence now that when I graduate with implementing my DBT into this, like if I want to start a separate business, which I probably will in like the physical therapy space, I am 100% confident that like I can start it up and I know exactly what I need to be doing from day one in order to scale it up and grow it. And like if I didn't have that business savvy knowledge, like I wouldn't know how to market it. And like also just like reaching PT to a broader audience. We're always like, oh, we want more people to know like what PT is and like how we can help people. And it's like, that's great. You got to learn how to market then, because if you don't know how to market properly, no one's going to ever know what PT is and what we can do as physical therapists. So that's really how the business side of things has also impacted me. So yeah, it's been instrumental, honestly, in my growth as like a future clinician. So for anyone listening to this, like highly recommend you learning some business skills. Highly recommend you, if you are a personal trainer, dive into that. You know, make yourself a little side cash during PT school so you're not like broke during the whole thing. And then at the same time, you can then learn some skills that are going to benefit you as a future clinician. So honestly, it's like a win-win.
Dude, I totally agree with you. Like, and first of all, like, how many of those business skills did you learn in PT school?
Literally zero. And yeah. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day who's another fitness coach, and he was texting me and he said, dude, like, I think you honestly know more about business than like most people that graduate with an actual business degree. And I'm like, yeah, because like you're not going to learn these business skills in PT school. Maybe you take a business class if there's one offered as like an extracurricular, but like even like getting like a bachelor's degree in like business, like you're not going to be learning the actual know-how that you need to know. And like that is where this is still education. It's just an unorthodox form of education. Like there are plenty of business. I am not the only business coach out there. There are plenty of business coaches and courses and books to learn all of this stuff. If you don't want to dive head first in and like learn all this stuff from a coach, at least buy a book. Buy a book and just learn from it. You don't know what book to buy, you can send me a message after listening to this podcast and I'll direct you to a book. Like you just start with doing something each day. And like you're not going to learn, if you're waiting to learn this in school or after school, it's not going to happen. You got to go out and like figure it out.
Yeah, man, it's wild to think that like there's so many students out there that don't know any of this stuff, and I'm learning from you. I'm learning from a bunch of people all these like little business things, and it can help me like be step up above other clinicians when I graduate. Like,
Yeah. You just have all these other skills that most people don't, and it just puts you a step above everyone like so quickly.
Kevin, let's talk about all your successes. Let's talk about how you were featured on the news, dude. What the heck?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I saw that on your Instagram. Like, bro.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I've been grateful enough to be featured in various news sources. Those being Fox, ABC, NBC, and New York Weekly. And
Jeez.
and I honestly like it's a combination of a couple things. Like one of it is being because I had a lot of people ask me the same question, like, oh my God, like how does that happen so quickly? And it's like I'll give two answers here. One being it is something that has happened over the course of time. Like people need to keep in mind that it's like I've been doing online fitness coaching now, like in some capacity for the past over 40 years. Like obviously it's been more successful the past like 2 really, but I've been doing it for like a while and it's been something that I've done for a while. The other side of the coin is, and this again comes with, this is part of why I tell people get a coach, get a mentor, and like learn. If I would not be featured on all these publications and news sources if I wasn't in the mentorships that I'm in, because it was because of these mentorships that I had all these like really high level connections where it was like, oh, like because I knew someone, they also knew someone who was a good friend of theirs who could then get me featured on the website because he was a publisher for it or a journalist for it. And like that came from, various mentorships that I was in. Like one of my current business coach, my main one, Ross Johnson, super successful dude, 2 7-figure businesses by like, I think 24, 26 or something like that, like well made. I currently get business mentorship from him. And, thanks to him, I've been able to get connected to people from all these different news sources. And because of that, they're like, yeah, like we want to put some stories out. We got some room to put more people out. You're a really successful dude. Like, let me just interview you and then we'll get you on. And like, it was because of these like high level connections that I was able to make it happen. And if I hadn't invested in these mentorships, I would not have these high level connections. So, I mean, the knowledge is great, but honestly, I think the biggest ROI for me has just been like all of these like connections and networking that I've done through these mentorships, because I can at this point really just like get honestly any high level thing I need done just by one message being sent and being like, hey, do you know someone for this? And they know like everyone at this point. So it's like, great, I can get it done.
And yet again, it's another thing that we don't learn in schools, like how to network, how to talk to people and who you know. And those things are very valuable and underrated things.
Absolutely.
To succeed. So Kevin, you've been featured in news. You have 2 successful businesses. You're about to graduate PT school in 2 years. Like, what's the next move? Do you have an idea of what you want to do next?
Yeah, good question. I think for me at this point, it's going to be a lot of keeping things online. I may decide I want to start an in-person business, but that's probably not going to be it. I'm probably going to be doing mostly everything online. The plan for me is to merge like what I'm doing with the DPT degree, like into the fitness coaching business, with being able to add in the component of now doing like rehab consults and other things like that, and like injury prevention, and like adding all that into the fitness side of things to really like have a different dimension to it that I know is much needed, because there are plenty of people that are trying to be active, trying to be healthy, that are avid lifters, that are avid athletes, and obviously are dealing with nagging pains and injuries. So being able to merge that into that side of the business is really the plan there. And like a mostly online component, I may decide to like have a studio or something to like really just have content out of, but that side of it is really what's going to be there. And then on the business side of it, honestly, the main thing that's probably going to change there is just me kind of growing from just serving personal trainers to probably also then serving some clinicians as well, because I've had some approach me already, and I know that it's something that it's knowledge that I wish more clinicians had so they can reach more people. So scaling the business on that side of things towards reaching more clinicians as well as personal trainers is really going to be the goal there. And then just continuing to do what I'm doing and just scaling this business upwards, like as I've been doing, and like having more time available to also do that.
Big moves, Kevin. Big moves. Well, I think that's going to be kind of everything to end the podcast. Do you have any general tips for anyone listening out there that wants to maybe start their personal training business or receive coaching or something like that, start a side hustle while in PT school?
I will spend a couple minutes here giving like some broad general advice that I think would be applicable to everyone listening to this that's in that position. And then I'll give you a resource, and then I'm going to plug myself because obviously I do this very well. So first things first, if you are looking to grow an online personal training business, even while you're in PT school or after it or before it, it doesn't matter. Or if you're a clinician watching this and you want to add a fitness component to your business, like this is going to be applicable to you too. There's really, I like to teach, there's really like I call it the grid method. There's like 4 levels really in terms of like key pillars to focus on when it comes to starting and growing the business online. And it's really applicable in any industry. It's not just for personal trainers, but that's obviously what I specialize in. First pillar being your positioning. How are you positioning yourself online? And that's what we talked about a little earlier with like knowing your niche, knowing your demographic, knowing who it is that you're trying to serve, specifically who it is that you're trying to market to, and really understanding them. And in a nutshell, it's extremely important you know this, because how you market towards one person is going to be completely different than the other person. I'll give a quick example here. You could have an 18-year-old college guy and a busy stay-at-home mom, and they could both want the goal of fat loss. If you were just marketing yourself as a fat loss specialist, again, you're talking to everyone at that point. If you position yourself online to really market towards one of those specific demographics, that's where the clarity really comes in and how you speak to them, because the reasoning behind why that mother wants to lose weight is going to be way different than the reason why that 18-year-old college student is going to want to lose weight. Completely different whys, completely different reasoning, completely different language that they use to talk about it. So knowing and understanding who you're primarily talking to, what are their FPGs, their fears, their pains, and their goals are, is going to be really imperative towards implementing a marketing strategy once you have that dialed in. Number 2 is going to be understanding your offer and creating an irresistible offer. So it's not enough to just be like, I offer like online coaching. It's like, great, like what is your actual program? What is it that you can really provide people? And bring it up to the next level that most fitness coaches don't do. For example, in my business, I mapped out a very clear A to B, that is a big transformation that you're going to achieve. So I've mapped out what is the big transformation you're going to achieve, and then what are all the micro steps that are going to take them along a transformation. And I created that and put that all into an all-encompassing 8-module course that they go through in combination with a bunch of other variables and an app that they go through for their training. You need to figure out some way to really create a nice, irresistible offer with a pretty bow tied on it that's going to get your ideal client that you figured out in step 1 to want to actually purchase your stuff. From there, step 3 is going to be how you're actually going to generate leads. I teach a bunch of different methods in my course specifically for business coaching, but the quick way that I'm going to tell you here to everyone listening to this is direct outreach. That's been the golden backbone of my business in terms of getting more clients in and generating leads. And all direct outreaches is just DMing people with the intention of forming a relationship, not with the intention of selling or cold pitching to people. And we've probably all gotten those from like MLMers or like network marketers, but it's like that's not the way DM outreach should be. It's the whole goal here is just reaching out. Like if you can just reach out to 5 people a day that are in your audience and out of your audience, and just invite them into your ecosystem, have a conversation with them, figure out what their goals are, figure out what their desires are, see if they're struggling on anything, and then see how you can help them. Provide them some help for free, provide them some value, and then when it makes sense, you can then push your offer out there in how you can help them even further through your paid coaching. And I teach a whole DM strategy along with a bunch of other methods in my course, but that's one thing there. And then step number 4 finally is going to be, I always teach getting people on sales calls, or as I like to call them, enrollment calls, when it comes to actually getting clients from being interested to actually paying for your service. And again, selling is transformation, selling is service. So the more calls you can have booked in your calendar throughout a week, the more income you're going to make, because the more calls you have booked is directly tied to the amount of income you're going to make. Because I always like to talk business on the phone if at all possible, and I don't like discussing that stuff over messages, DMs, or emails. It just comes across better. I can really understand them better, and I can really take them through a transformative enrollment call that's going to really push them towards their vision and get them to take action and commit on that. Not to say sales calls are the only way to run a business, but that's the primary method I teach. That's the primary method I use. So if I were starting over, if I were telling any one of you guys how to actually map it out, those are literally the 4 high-level steps. If you want more in-depth knowledge on like how to actually implement those 4 steps and like the actual nitty-gritty info behind all 4 of those steps, I do offer business coaching, as it's been talked about on this podcast already, to personal trainers. And I help a lot of SPTs actually, but a ton of general personal trainers just wanting to grow their business online or start their business online in the first place from ground zero and from scratch. So if that's something that interests you, if you want to do something like that, go ahead and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I also have plenty of resources. So if you're like, I'm not really ready to invest in someone yet, or I'm not sure, send me a message. I have free resources that you can have. I have a Facebook group as well, which you can also DM me for, and I will send you the link to that. And you can get a ton of free resources from me before even deciding to invest in something. If you're looking for a book instead that you wish to learn more about online marketing and business, the main one I usually recommend to people starting out is one called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. Very foundational, great business book for online marketing specifically. I reference it a ton even to this day. It's a great foundational book. If you want other book suggestions, I have a ton of them. You can send me a message. I wouldn't read them all at this point. So you can just send me a message, chat about anything you want, and I'll get back to you on that. And that is everything that I have to say there.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Kev. If you guys listening, I'm going to include all the links to his profile and everything in the podcast episode description, so you guys will have access to that if you're interested in reaching out to him, as well as his Instagram, stuff like that. So thank you again, Kevin, for hopping on, man.
Yeah, pleasure being here.
And thank you guys, everyone that was listening to this episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to today's episode of Broke and Stressed. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that follow or subscribe button to get notified whenever new episodes are released. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can find me on YouTube or Instagram. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.